Welcome back to another episode of the American Gamedog podcast, where tradition meets tenacity, and we give voice to the real dogmen who have shaped the history of the American Pit Bull Terrier. I'm your host, CY, and today I'll be reading an excerpt from the Sporting Dog Journal. It was a old May 2011 interview with Mr. Lester Hughes. Mr. Lester Hughes became involved with Bulldogs about 70 years ago, and by the 1970s, he had become known as the Old Mountain Man. In his more than half a century in the game, he played a part in the careers of more than a few great dogs. But he is not a man who brags about his many accomplishments. It doesn't get involved in any of the gossip so prevalent in the dog game. Where and when were you born? I was born in Roaring Creek, North Carolina, in the Appalachian Mountains on April 22nd, 1924, which has always been my home, except for when I was working and having to travel or fighting in World War II. When did you get started in game dogs? I was around 17 years old when I really got into game dogs. Ranger, my first real game dog, but I was around 5 years old when I got my first game rooster. And ever since I was a child, I always liked to compete and see which animals were the gamest. In your early career, did anyone take you under their wing? Yes. Howard Till, Joe Medlin, and John Shiver were the ones who really helped me out to begin with. All were great guys and true gentlemen to the sport. What bloodlines were popular when you were starting out? Most everyone wanted blood from Howard Till. Whatever he had, you knew it was going to be some of the best in the world. Could you give our readers some of your views on feeding? I used to use clovite as a vitamin. I like to give organ meat such as heart and liver. I always like cod liver oil or some kind of fish oil. Years ago, we never let anything go to waste, so a lot of times we would feed an old horse or pony that was unable to work. We would have it slaughtered and cut up for the dogs. As far as dry dog food, I always liked Purina products. They were always the best available in my area years ago. What was the biggest setback you ever had? The hardest time with the dogs. The hardest time I had was when we had a flood here in 1998. I lost 15 dogs in the flood. Driftwood, Chocolate Lively, Shep, and Harold's Black Sun were the main ones I can recall offhand. Harold's Black Sun to me was the best producer off of Chinaman. He was a very game and produced a lot of gameness. Crazy Earl, another stud dog I had, died the day before the flood. That time was very hard as far as the dogs. It was very hard to know that there was nothing I could do to save those 15 dogs. But I was grateful that my family was okay. You can never put a dog's life over a human's. Do you make a distinction between a match dog and a stud dog / brood bitch? What are the qualities you are looking for in a stud dog / brood bitch? Gameness is the thing I look for in all dogs. whether it be a match dog or a stud dog slash brood bitch. Really and truly, a match dog and a stud dog slash brood bitch go hand in hand. If you don't have something that is game, it is not worth breeding. Papers don't make a game dog. I never seen a set of papers step over the pit wall and win a fight. What is the most successful combinations you have made? As far as breeding, the best breeding I ever made was Homer bred to Susie. There were numerous champions bred from this combination. I always bred for performance, not really crossing out dogs just to cross them out. Homer won his grand championship in Florida. His two sons, Little Bill and Little Homer, both won their championships the same night at another convention. All three dogs won within the same hour of each other. I believe that Little Bill and Little Homer were showed in North Carolina, but I was with Homer in Florida. Can you tell me about Zebo? I've heard over the years some people say they thought Vindicator was better than Zebo, but that's not true. I know firsthand because we rode Zebo and Vindicator together, and Zebo, without a doubt, was the better dog. Not that Vindicator was a bad dog, but Zebo was a much better dog. Gator and a dog named Lou were the best dogs that I had off Zebo. Lou, unfortunately, died in a kennel accident. And the thing I didn't like about the Zebo dogs, they were very bad on breaking teeth. They always seemed to have weak teeth. What is the main quality you are looking for in a match dog? Gameness is the most important thing, but you also have to have some mouth to win nowadays also. Gameness is the most important thing. That is why they are called game dogs. Tell me about your schooling methods. Normally, I like to wait until they're about 18 months old. It depends on the dog after that and how much more schooling. I always like to leave them at their chain weight, but I never rode dogs very long to determine if they were match quality. I was always really lucky to have a keen eye to tell what was match quality and what wasn't. Every dog man has their own way of conditioning. What type of keep do you put your dogs through? Basically, I just believed in hand walking and slack meal work. The biggest thing is to judge a dog on how much work he can take. I always started off slow, and I always like to work off normally 4 to 5 pounds of body weight or 10 to 15% of body weight to bring them to their proper weight. I never like to starve a dog down. I like to work the extra weight off. Any advice on handling? Letting your dog see you is the most important thing. All the screaming and clapping that some people try to do is unprofessional and does nothing but distract from your dog. Years ago, you would never hear anybody talk over regular speaking voice during the match because people had respect for the dogs. It wasn't about who could be the loudest or the most popular. It was all about the dogs. What do you think about the game today? Are there any major differences from when you started out? Yes, there are a lot more dogs today, and there are more gamer dogs today. In the last 50 years, the dogs have progressed to a whole new level. It's easier for people to get better dogs because there are so many different dogs you can breed to nowadays. It used to be that old timers' yards were closed and they would not sell anything or let you breed to what they had. So it was very hard to progress the dogs to a higher quality. Tell me about the toughest match you had. The toughest match that I ever had was a dog named Big Boy, a dog that I showed who was off of Zebo's uncle named Mike, I believe. It went 3 hours and 25 minutes. Big Boy was able to pull it out, thank goodness. Now the easiest match you had. The easiest matches were probably Zebo's because he stood so far ahead from anything during his era. If you could choose 5 dogs past or present, which ones would you choose and why? Of course, I would choose Homer because Homer was one of the best producers and he had unbelievable killer instinct and determination. Then Zebo because he was so fast and had mouth that was unbelievable, and also he was game. No matter what people think about a hard-mouthed dog, Zebo was game. Little Homer was also an extraordinary dog. Grand Champion Art was a great dog, also without a doubt, and Grand Champion Boomerang. He was one of the best that I ever saw. These 5 dogs, they were all great performers, but all 5 dogs were also great producers. That is the reason I would choose those 5 dogs. But I can't leave out Shady Lady because she was probably the best match dog to ever look through a collar. I have to add in that supposedly Ricky Jones got pups off of her, but I was never able to get one pup off of her when I had her. Tell me about some of the best dog men you've known. Some of the best dog men that I have ever known have been Howard Till, John Shiver, Ken Allen, and Barney Fife. The best conditioner was always Mayfield and Junior Bush. The best referees that I knew were going to be fair, no matter the circumstances, were Floyd Boudreaux and Bert Klaus. You are one of the oldest dog men of our time. If you could give 1 or 2 tips to someone who is maybe just starting out of the game, what would they be? Of course, I would suggest they not do it at this age in time. But if they were determined, I would tell them to be honest and always be careful of who they associate with. Don't do it for the fame. Do it for the enjoyment of the dogs and quit worrying about papers. They can't make a dog win. A good dog is where you find them. Is there anything you would like to say in closing that hasn't already been covered? As far as telling about myself, all I have to say is that I've never lied about a dog or ever hung papers on a dog. I wish everybody luck that works hard and does right by these dogs. If you are unable to properly care for them, then they aren't for you. So please respect these gladiators and watch people who properly care for them and learn from them before you abuse a dog. Also, in closing, I would like to thank everyone out there who has been good friends with me over the years and has shown good sportsmanship. But due to poor health, I have closed Mountain Man Kennels and officially retired from the game. I pray that you be safe and wish everyone the best of luck and have fun. All right, and this is just another part that was in that excerpt from the Sporting Dog Journal on Mr. Hughes. When Mr. Hughes was first began showing dogs, most matches were fought by old country rules or country style. In his own words, we used to let them fight until one guy's dog would quit or one guy'd go in and get his dog. That used to be the rules we had a long time ago. One of the first dogs he matched was his old Ranger dog, a son of Cotton's Bullet. The fight had been set up by a man named Hughes. I was matching to some fellas from round Smithfield. When I showed up with my dog, nobody really knew me, and man, they had money. They wore rings that looked like they'd be worth my whole house here, and gold tie clasps. I didn't know whether I was ever going to get to fight my dog or not. In other words, they didn't want to fight for what I was willing to bet. Then some fella stepped up and backed me. His name was Whitey, something or another. He asked me a little about my dog and then announced, "Gentlemen, any of those of you that wish to bet, step over here and let me have your names and who you are." Some of them just sort of looked down their noses at this man as if to say, "You think you got that kind of money?" So he reached down in his front pocket and brought out a roll of bills this big. He gestures with his hand, a wide size of an orange. It looked like it was all $100 bills. Then he said, "If that ain't enough, I got some more in the other pocket. And if that ain't enough, I got some more in the trunk of my car." Ranger won the fight pretty easily in 58 minutes. And Whitey had them all lined up, paying them when it was all over. Again, this is an old interview from the Sporting Dog Journal from May of 2011. We'll be getting back at you real soon with more content. Until then, like, share, and subscribe. This is American Game Dog Podcast. We'll see you soon.